Welcome to Science Easy Tech channel. In this video, we are going to discuss about proteins. Before moving on to the topic, if you are new to Science Easy Tech channel, just take a moment to subscribe our channel and also to press the notification bell icon in order to get connected with our latest updates. Let's move on to the contents what we are going to discuss in this video. So in this video, I am going to discuss about introduction to proteins, origin and composition of proteins, structure of proteins and classification of proteins. The functions of proteins, the deficiency of proteins, everything will be discussed in my part 2 video. So let's see what is proteins. So protein is derived from the Greek word protos. The meaning for protos is primary or holding first place. So in the word nutrition also protein plays a very important role. So it is a major nutrient or macronutrient. So as carbohydrates, proteins also contain carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. But in addition to carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, protein also contains nitrogen. But the nutritive value of protein rich foods does not depend on the amount of nitrogen present in the protein, but the nutritive value of protein is dependent on the type of amino acids which is present in the protein what we are taking. Approximately the nitrogen content of proteins varies from 14 to 20%, and in most proteins the average value is about 16% of nitrogen. So protein means protos. It is derived from the Greek word protos, which means primary or holding first place. And proteins contains carbon, hydrogen, oxygen as well as nitrogen. The structural and functional unit of protein is amino acids. The structural unit of protein is made up of amino acids. Let's see the origin and composition of proteins. Origin. Amino acids are nothing but they are small units that combine to form a protein molecule. So protein molecule is made up of amino acids. Plants synthesize amino acids with the help of bacteria and fungi from the soil, which supplies the necessary nitrogen and sulfur. So for plants to develop the amino acids, it requires the help of bacteria and fungi from the soil from where the nitrogen and sulfur they are getting, as well as water. The water will be providing oxygen as well as hydrogen and atmospheric carbon dioxide. In atmospheric carbon dioxide, they will be getting, the plants will be getting carbon and oxygen. Animals cannot synthesize amino acids from basic elements, but by means of ingesting the plants, so they will be getting the amino acids. So mostly plants can synthesize the amino acids from the soil, water and atmospheric carbon dioxide. But animals cannot be able to synthesize most of the amino acids on their own. But on ingestion of plant sources, they can get the necessary amino acids. Next, moving on to the composition of amino acids. Proteins are chemical compounds that contain the same atoms as carbohydrate and lipid. So what is common? Carbon, hydrogen and oxygen is common in all carbohydrates, lipids and proteins. But in proteins, you have an additional atom, that is nitrogen atoms. So nitrogen atoms give the name amino. So nitrogen containing to the amino acids that are the links in the chains and are referred to as proteins. So proteins contain carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and nitrogen. That's why the name called as amino acids. Structure of proteins. About 20 different amino acids may appear in proteins. All amino acids share a common chemical backbone, and it is these backbones that are linked together to form proteins. So each amino acid is linked to one another. So each amino acid also carries a side chain which varies from one amino acid to another amino acid. So one amino acid to another amino acid is connected by means of a linkage, and each amino acid will have side chains, so which will be differ from one another. So each amino acid contains carboxyl group or acidic group. Carboxyl group or acidic group at one end and amino group at the other end. So the carboxyl is called as acidic group, amino group is called as basic group. The amino acids I told no, it is linked together in forming a protein molecule through this amino group and carboxyl group. So they are held together by means of a peptide linkage. Okay, they are held, one amino acid is connected to other amino acid by means of a peptide linkage. So this is the structure of amino acids. So let's see, on one side you have amino group, on one side you have carboxyl group. Amino group means NHH and carboxyl group means COOH. So here you can give the chemical structure of amino acids. So in amino acids, one side you have amino group and other side you have carboxyl group. So this is the amino group and this is the carboxyl group. You can see NHH. So NHH. So it is called as NH2, that is amino group. Next is carboxyl group. So in carboxyl group you can see COOH. So in carboxyl group it is COOH. So this is the structure of amino acids. Next, protein chains. The 20 amino acids can be linked end to end in a virtually infinite variety of sequence to form proteins. So when two amino acids bond together, it is known as dipeptide. When two amino acids are bond together, one amino acid is connected to other amino acid by the removal of water. So this is called as what? Dipeptide. So three amino acids bonded together to form tripeptide. So more than three amino acids, if they are bonded together, it is called as polypeptide. When two amino acids are bonded together, it is called as dipeptide. When three amino acids are bonded together, it is called as tripeptide. And when more than three amino acids are joined together, then it is called polypeptide. Most proteins are polypeptide because they contains 100 to 300 amino acids. Okay, so they are called as what? Polypeptides. Next, moving on to classification of proteins. Proteins are large molecules formed by the combination of a number of amino acids. About 20 amino acids have been found to occur in proteins and are important from the point of view of human nutrition. So, proteins are classified based on many types, based on the amino acids which are present. So, first we will see amino acids can be classified as follows. Proteins are made up of amino acids. So, nutritional classification of amino acids. Under nutritional classification of amino acids, we have essential amino acids and semi-essential amino acids and non-essential amino acids. So let's see what is essential amino acids, what is semi-essential amino acids and what is non-essential amino acids in detail. Essential amino acids, it is otherwise called as indispensable amino acids because it may be defined as one which is necessary for the growth and health of all living organisms. Without this, proper growth and development will not be taking place and the person will not be healthy. So, without essential amino acids, proper health and growth will not be there. So, what you have to take? You have to compulsorily take these essential amino acids through your diet. There are 9 essential amino acids which are considered very important for the human infant, out of which histidine is considered non-essential for the adult. So in infants means less than 1 year, for them 9 amino acids are considered to be essential. For us adult human beings, except histidine, every other thing is considered as essential amino acids. So for adults at least 8 should be there. Semi-essential amino acids or conditionally essential amino acids. Sometimes a non-essential amino acid can become essential. For example, during illness. Okay, during illness or conditions of injury or any other special circumstances. So that time and all, some non-essential amino acids are become essential. So in life-saving times like that and all. So in case of any injury, in case of any severe illness, that time and all, the person has to consume even this non-essential amino acids, which is going to play a very critical role in making the individual come back to his normalcy or to recover from his illness. So they are called as semi-essential amino acids or conditionally essential amino acids. Example, methionine can be converted to cysteine, but cysteine cannot be converted to methionine. Similarly, phenylalanine can be converted to tyrosine, but not vice versa. So, you can convert one amino acid into other amino acid. So, hence cysteine and tyrosine are subclassed as semi-essential amino acid. Next is non-essential amino acids, which is called as dispensable. Non-essential amino acids means our body itself can be able to produce these amino acids. So, it is not necessary that you have to supply it through the diet. If you are supplying it through the diet also, there is no problem. But our body itself can synthesize these amino acids. So let's see what are all those amino acids which comes under essential, semi-essential and non-essential. So in essential, I told 9 amino acids. Out of these 9 amino acids, which is very useful for infants. But when it comes to adults, even if you have histidine or if you don't have histidine, it is not going to make a problem. So first we will see essential amino acids like histidine, lysine, tryptophan, phenylalanine, methionine, threonine, leucine, isoleucine, valine. This tryptophan is present in our milk. Okay, so histidine, lysine, tryptophan, phenylalanine, methionine, threonine, leucine, isoleucine, valine. Next is semi-essential. Semi-essential example arginine, tyrosine, cysteine, glycine, serine. Arginine, tyrosine, cysteine, glycine, serine. Non-essential glutamic acid, aspartic acid, alanine, proline, hydroxyproline, cysteine. Glutamic acid, aspartic acid, alanine, proline, hydroxyproline and cysteine. So these are the nutritional classification of proteins based on amino acids. Next we will see classification of proteins based on chemical composition. So based on chemical composition, proteins can be classified as simple, conjugated, derived. Again, these simple proteins are classified as globular proteins, scleroproteins. Under globular proteins, you have albumins, globulins, glutalins, prolamines, then histones, globins, protamines. Under scleroproteins, you have collagens, elastins, keratins. Under conjugated, you have nucleoproteins, glycoproteins, mucoproteins, lipoproteins, phosphoproteins, chromoproteins, metalloproteins. Under derived proteins, you have primary and secondary. Under primary derived proteins, you have coagulated proteins, proteins, metaproteins. Under secondary derived proteins, you have proteoses, peptones, polypeptides and peptides. So the simple proteins, it is composed entirely of amino acids only. In simple proteins, only you have amino acids. In conjugated or complex proteins, you have amino acids plus other organic or inorganic compounds like lipoproteins. In lipoproteins, you have proteins plus lipids, chylomicrons. Okay, like that you have some other thing apart from proteins. Next is derived proteins. Derived proteins, these are derivatives of proteins resulting from the action of heat, enzymes and chemical reagents. When proteins are heated or any enzymatic action over the proteins or any mixing of chemical reagents, all this leads to derived proteins. So this group also includes the artificially produced polypeptides like fibrin. So next we will see classification of proteins based on nutritive value. So based on nutritive value, proteins can be classified as complete proteins and incomplete proteins. So what is this complete proteins? These contain all essential amino acids to supply the body needs of the body. Okay, this contain all essential amino acids in sufficient quantities. So it is available in sufficient quantities to meet the needs of the people. So when you are taking this complete proteins, all the essential amino acids you are going to get to our body. So they are whatever our body needs, that is sufficiently available in this complete proteins. Then they support the life even if supplied as the sole source of protein. Even if you are taking, for example, if you are taking a one egg, milk, everything contains complete protein because they are containing most of the essential amino acids. So these proteins are of animal origin mainly, like milk, meat, poultry, egg and fish. The quality of these proteins is much superior to those of incomplete proteins. Okay, so the quality of these proteins is much superior compared to incomplete proteins. This is very good. The biological value of proteins is going to be more in these things. Next, moving on to incomplete proteins. These proteins are deficient in one or more of the essential amino acids. So they are not called as complete proteins. All plant sources, they will be having some essential amino acids but not the full essential amino acids whatever our body needs. For example, vegetables, fruits, cereals, pulses, nuts and oilseeds contains incomplete proteins of various degrees. So complete proteins versus incomplete proteins. So complete protein, animal based, you have meat, poultry, dairy, that is milk products, eggs, fish. Then incomplete proteins, that is plant based, vegetable, grains, legumes, beans, nuts or seeds. So complementary proteins. Complementary proteins means when two or more incomplete proteins, if you are going to mix it, it is going to complement each other. So you are going to get at least some amount of essential amino acids to your body. For example, grains plus legumes or vegetables. If you are going to mix grains plus legumes or vegetables, nuts or seeds plus vegetables or legumes. So grains, legumes, nuts or seeds or vegetables are going to complement each other. Next is complementary proteins. What is this complementary proteins? I told if two sources of incomplete proteins are combined in the same meal, so the resulting protein in one aspect, one essential amino acid will be missing, but in the other thing if you are taking no, so that essential amino acid will be compensated in that thing. So this is called as complementary proteins. So mostly we are not daily we cannot eat mutton, chicken, fish like that, no. So if mostly we are using plant based sources. So suppose if you are making pongal, so in pongal what you are going to add rice and you are going to add moong dal. So you are going to mix it and you are going to cook. So this rice is deficient in amino acid lysine, but in rice you have methionine. Okay, in rice which is rich in methionine. So pulses are rich in lysine but deficient in methionine. So when you are going to combine rice and pulses, so that one lysine is deficient in one thing and methionine is deficient in other thing. So when you are going to cook it together, so one deficiency will be compensated by the thing which is present in the other thing. So rice and pulse combination will be complementing each other. So it makes a complete protein. It improves the quality of the protein. Similarly, rice ghee. Rice ghee is another example where animal and vegetable proteins are mixed together and cooked. For example, in rice ghee, milk you are mixing with rice and you are cooking. So in milk, what are all the essential amino acids will be there. In rice, only some of the essential amino acids will be there. So when you are going to mix everything, so you will be going to have a good source of proteins. So this is called as complementary proteins. Pongal rice kheer is an example. So similarly, you can tell whatever you want, you can tell like sambar, like khichdi, okay, where you are going to mix a variety of substances like vegetables and all. In vegetables some proteins will be there, some proteins will be deficient. Okay, so you can add one thing to other in order to compensate it. So hope this video is clear for you all. In my next video, I will be posting the food sources, recommended dietary intake, deficiency, functions of proteins, everything in detail. So keep watching and supporting to Science Easy Tech channel. If you like my video, give a thumbs up, share and subscribe to our channel. My previous videos link I have given in this end card, suggested iCards as well as in the description box. You can watch our channel playlist for BSc Nursing Nutrition. Thank you friends.